or if it's somebody who is uninsured, which is a lot of our population that we see, we provide all our services free of charge. We are 100% grant driven. Our money is all from a grant. That's why our services are free to anybody.
That's great. Yeah. That's really great. That's wonderful, because sometimes there are certain segments of the population that are missed,
absolutely,
that are not able to gain access to these needed services. And you said the Bowie residents are eligible for this as well, Bowie residents?
That's correct. We have spent some time over here. We have a close partnership with the police department, and we spend time doing roll calls over here in District 2, talking to the officers and kind of creating having a relationship with the police department and with the citizens and with the agencies in the county. So we all work collaboratively together to try to find the proper help for somebody. Because the officers are specially trained. Prince George's County Police are one of the agencies that probably get a lot more hours of training than other agencies in the state and nationally. There are some that get equal as well, but they have a lot of training. So when they go out onto the scene, that's training that we've offered them, that we go in and work with the officers on. Plus they have our team available 24 hours a day to them. They go on the radio and get us right out there, and we work with them on that.
So that collaboration is necessary.
Absolutely.
Definitely.
We work with recruits early on in the academy. We work with recruits again as role playing at the end. And last year I was through psychological services the department. They had me come in every Tuesday morning for their advanced officers training. And I saw every sworn officer in Prince George's County and talked about our systems. So every officer is aware of the systems and that it's available anywhere within Prince George's County.
Wonderful. Are you in collaboration with any other agencies or any other government agencies?
Well, there's a lot of different police agencies in the county. So any officer anywhere, any law enforcement officer in this county can contact us, and we can go out and work with them as well. We do in-services with those officers, and we also work with a lot of the agencies in the county, like Tim and the Department of Family Services, Department of Social Services, Adult Protective Services, a lot of agencies in the county that we refer people to. We stay connected with them and keep up on their criterias and how we can access them and work with them. So any agency out there that we will work with in the county.
Okay. Is there anything else that we have not covered that our viewers would be interested in knowing? Because these are wonderful services.
Yeah, they're good services, and we're trying to grow, provide more services as we come up, as grants open up. One of the latest that's beginning right now is what's called a foster care team. And in Prince George's County, we have a large number of children placed in foster care here in the county. And so we have a special team that's 24 hours a day that's part of our mobile crisis team that's specially trained in foster care issues. So at, say, 3 o'clock in the morning when a foster parent and their foster child are having some issues, some problems, whatever that may be, they can call us again or call the police. They'll call us out, and our clinicians are trained in dealing with that. And we would go in, as our IFIT team does, we would go in and help out, de-escalate, figure out what they needed, and they also have a case management component of that as well, working in collaborative with Department of Social Services or Adult Protective Services on kind of how can we help this family get through these issues. So that's something we're really excited that's getting ready to start as well.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you so much. Mr. Jansen.
Yes, ma'am.
What mental health areas are covered by the Community Crisis Services?
Any and all. Community Crisis Services has been running hotlines will be 40 years next year.
My goodness.
Crisis hotlines kind of grew up in the late 50s and the early 60s and have sprung from universities, faith-based organizations, and they've grown into more than a volunteer-based organization into professionally staffed organizations. So Community Crisis Services operates hotlines 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. We have 12 different hotlines currently. Some are local to Prince George's County, some are local to Southern Maryland, which includes Calvert, Charles, and St. Mary's counties. One is statewide and one is national. So we provide services on a realm of different jurisdictions. And crisis hotlines originally were all about suicide and all about preventing suicide, which is still one of our focuses.
Yes.
And in about 95 or more like 99% of all suicides completed or attempted, there's a mental health issue. In about 40% of completed suicides, schizophrenia is found to be an issue somewhere. So it's one of those issues that just permeates our society at every level, and mental illness is a huge part of what goes on when somebody's feeling suicidal. So 3 of our hotlines are specifically about suicide, preventing suicide, talking with people about how do you help someone who is suicidal, how do you figure out if someone's suicidal, and really the key, it's not rocket science. You ask, are you struggling with suicide? Have you thought about ending your life? We also provide information and referral to community organizations throughout the county and the state through Maryland 211, which is brand new. It's 3-digit dialing, just like 911 or 411. You dial 211 and you can access a wealth of statewide resources. We update that database every day, it seems like, but every resource in the database is done at least once a year. The beauty of a crisis hotline is you can be anonymous. You can call, you don't have to identify yourself. If you're worried or concerned that somebody may identify you or label you in some way, you can call and ask questions. And if the counselors don't know the answer, they can get a name and number and call you back if you're open and willing to that. So it's just one of those ways of providing information to the community where it costs you nothing. You just pick up the phone, make a phone call. You can ask one simple question and be done in 60 seconds. Other calls can take an hour. I took a very intense suicide attempt about 3 weeks ago on 211. So they run the gamut from hi, can you connect me with somebody that can do a psychological evaluation, or I don't know what I'm going to do, I'm holding a gun and I'm thinking of killing myself. So they run the gamut all over. So it's all about getting mentally healthy and helping people who are suffering with mental illness.
What about some of the other lines? What are some of the other areas?
We are the single point of access for homeless individuals in Prince George's County. That's a grant-funded program through the Department of Social Services. So if anyone's homeless, they call our number, and we do a brief interview and then identify if there is a shelter bed available, and they qualify where that shelter bed is, and we do a referral so that they can get into that shelter bed quickly. We are the single point of access for child abuse screening in Prince George's County. That's also a grant-funded program. So anybody who is suspecting child abuse, wants to report child abuse, or has a question about child abuse can call into our shop and get answers about what meets criteria, what doesn't, what services are available, how do they help a child that might be in danger. Our crisis specialists take preliminary information, and then if it meets criteria, a social worker from the Department of Social Services, Child Protective Services Bureau is engaged in completing that investigation. 2 of our suicide hotlines are part of national organizations. We are the local crisis hotline provider for the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline, 800-273-TALK. There are 140 crisis centers networked throughout the country, such that anybody who calls that number gets the crisis center closest to them.
Okay, that's just an automatic thing?
Automatic.
Okay.
It's nothing they have to do. They have to push 1 or 2 for English or Spanish, because if you're Spanish speaking, you get an interpreter or someone who speaks Spanish. You can actually get services through an interpreter as well. And then we are the backup call center for the Trevor Helpline, which is a suicide hotline for youth that are struggling with gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender issues. And we answer that 24 hours a day. We back up centers in Los Angeles and in New York. Interestingly enough, about 20% of those calls right now are coming from the Washington metro area. So a lot of calls coming through on that.
Yes.
We're part of the Maryland Youth Crisis Hotline Network, which is funded by Clive Shop. Maryland is the only state in the country with a decentralized hotline network, meaning there's 1 number, you can call from anywhere in the state and get a crisis line in your area. There are 4 crisis lines that are there. And one of our lines links directly with Chuck Shop for the crisis response system.
Great, that's wonderful. So a person who has a family member or a friend whom they feel is having some mental illness problems can call those hotlines and get information.
Absolutely. Ask simple questions, ask about diagnoses, ask how they get a family member help, up to and including my family member, is in critical trouble, what do I do?